Police recorded crime has increased by almost 10% since last year. Murders, knives, robberies and thefts are to blame, as Tim Jones reports.
Official figures for England and Wales show there were more than 5.5 million offences in England and Wales for the year to June. That's the highest since March 2005. In particular, the number of robberies, sexual offences and crimes involving knives are soaring. Labour describes the figures as truly shocking, while the Police Federation says it doesn't take a crystal ball to work out they need more boots on the ground.
Well, it's just after 5. Welcome along to Drive Time with Roz, hour 2 from the heart of Eastgate. Hope you're well as we head into Thursday evening and chatting to Sidra Naeem. She's my guest as well on the show today, exploring Islam, as we like to do once a month here on our local radio, Gateway 97.8. Coming to you live here from Studio 2 at the very heart of Eastgate.
From the heart of the Eastgate.
Drive Time with Roz Connors.
Gateway 97.8 from the heart of Eastgate. It's Roz here on the show today. My guest in this hour is Sidra Naeem, who's looking at her diary, probably looking for when she can book me in for an appointment because she's so busy. Anyway, welcome back. It's great to have you back on again.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely, actually, to see you again, yes.
Yes.
It's always lovely.
And I asked our listeners at the beginning of this hour, do you know how many acres of land are going to be lost to this new Lower Thames crossing that we're expected to see built? Have a guess. How many acres would you say?
30?
30. No, 2,500 acres of land will be lost to create this new road tunnel that's going to go under the Thames and is causing a lot of controversy, to be honest.
It's the traffic, isn't it, that's doing it. Too many cars, and then they have to find other avenues on how to decrease.
Well, that's right. Consultation is open until the 20th of December if you want to have your say. Anyway, I'm sure you want to have your say on a lot of other things this evening because we explore Islam and some of the things that go on in the Muslim world. And one of the stories in the news was this week, a rise in hate crime, something that I'm not happy about. You're probably not happy about because most of the hate crime is against Muslims, they're saying.
Yes, race hate crime has increased a lot generally ever since the Brexit talk has been going on, and also Donald Trump has come on the scene. Those are
Why
the two
Donald
factors.
Trump? Yeah.
Well, Donald Trump just, he sort of stirs up quite a lot of things, doesn't he, while he's speaking?
He's outspoken, isn't he?
Yes,
and
he says it the way it is. And Boris Johnson as well, we know about all the burqa ban that happened.
We were talking about that last time, weren't we?
Yes.
What was it, letterboxes or something like that?
Yes, that's right. So all of that, it does increase Islamophobia. And especially in Essex, because a lot of people do not know real Muslims that they can base their ideas upon. They only believe whatever is in the media, and they've got no choice, really. It's not their fault either.
But is whatever is in the media all bad? Because, I mean, you come onto this show and we try to do good here.
Do you know, media has changed ever since...
Well, it's 24-hour media now, isn't it? News is like rolling news, 24-hour news, and it's more immediate.
Yes, definitely the stuff that I'm involved with, the media is very positive. Both the radio stations are very, very good to me. They call me again and again. And the newspapers, I'm changing them as well. So our last... 2 cricket matches, they went in the newspaper. Both of them did in the end. Both published in 2 different areas, because there was one cricket match in Havering and then there was one in Chelmsford. The Chelmsford one is an annual one.
And these are the ones that you organised?
Yes, that's right. And the one in Havering was for the first time because somebody there, the mosque there, asked me to organise one there.
Basildon one going, and we know you got the women's group in Basildon as well, which I know our Steve King, he went along to this meeting that you had, and he come away really well. I can't say empowered because he's not a woman, but he came away with a spring in his step and feeling good that he'd been to meet you and some of the other women there.
Yes, I thought it went really well, and I mean, Steve's example is it boosted up his confidence, I feel, and he came back happy, and that's what happens to all our women who come. You know, everybody's there together and they've all got things in common. The activities we do are really fun. We had colouring in, I think we were making calendars that day, collage and things like that. And
this is at the Bath Centre, isn't it? And it happens every week, doesn't it?
Every month.
Once a month.
Yes. Our next one is next week.
So you
on Wednesday.
Right, brilliant stuff.
Yes.
So all these things that you're doing.
The Faith Covenant is a way of bringing together people of different faiths, sharing their issues, sharing their concerns, working much more effectively together.
A covenant, in religious terms, is an agreement between God and his people. Translated into the Faith Covenant that we're looking at in Essex, it's a project to tackle together some of the pressing social problems that affect all of us.
Women Together is a group which gets vulnerable women together to help tackle any mental health issues, and we do that through interfaith activities, lunches, coffee mornings and art. The women who attend get a lot out of this group. They find friends where they may be isolated in their homes. By integrating them in a multi-faith society, there's a great sense of unity and bonding.
In a world that we know is so divided and so torn apart by so many racial and economic divisions, a little corner of the world, which is Essex, trying to demonstrate that people can work together and can cooperate together is hugely important. It sends out a very, very important message.
soundbite really of all the great work that goes on across Essex.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity and the privilege to talk to you all on behalf of the Muslim community. I'm the same person who Bishop John mentioned earlier in his brilliant speech, so thank you very much for that. I'm the Islamic representative on 3 interfaith forums, one of which takes place in Essex, and one of which takes place actually in a mosque, which I think is an excellent practice. I'm a Muslim chaplain at Chelmsford College, and very recently I've been appointed the post of Muslim chaplain at the University in Chelmsford. I'm the Islamic representative on SACRE, which stands for Standing Advisory Council of Religious Education. And what we do is we set all the curriculums for religious education in schools, and I go to lots of different schools and I talk about lots of interfaith type stuff. I'm also the Secretary of Essex Mind and Spirit, and I will be facilitating one of the workshops later. So a Muslim's perspective is that all mankind is from Adam, so we are all descendants from the same ancestor, making us brothers and sisters of one another. All prophets and messengers from Adam to the present day were all from different nations. Moses was from Egypt, Jesus spoke Aramaic, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born in Arabia. No one was British, and yet we happily follow all their religions. And a lot of saints who are elevated, especially within Christianity, were also from different lands. So here is a reading from chapter 49, verse 13 of the Quran, which is the holy book of Muslims and believed to be the word of God. God says, "O mankind, we created you from a single soul, male and female, and made you into nations and tribes, so that you may come to know one another. Truly the most noble of you in the sight of God is the most righteous of you. This implies there is no place for racism in Islam. Islam rejects certain individuals or nations being favoured because of their wealth, power or race. God created human beings as equals who are to be distinguished from each other only on the basis of their piety. All aspects of Islam promote peace and justice. In Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's last sermon, just before he passed away, he said, "O people, your God is one and your forefather Adam is one. An Arab is not better than a non-Arab, and a non-Arab is not better than an Arab. And a white person is not better than a black person, and a black person is not better than a white person, except in piety." The fact that these were his last few words just before he passed away shows the importance of unity and peace.
So we've now come to the point where we're soon to close the event, but before we do that, we've got special guests, and Sidra is going to introduce him to Stephen Timms MP for me.
Hello everybody. Like last year, as always, thank you again for giving me the opportunity and the privilege to represent the Muslim community here in Essex. I'm Sidra Naeem. A lot of you know me as a teacher by profession, but I have got a very big interfaith role in Essex. I'm part of 3 interfaith forums in Essex. I'm the Secretary of Essex Mind and Spirit, through which I run the Women Together group, which you saw in the video. I'm representative on SACRE, which stands for the Standing Advisory Council of Religious Education for all schools in Essex. I'm also the Islamic advisor for many organisations within Essex, and I'm also a Muslim chaplain as well. So I'm honoured today to introduce Stephen Timms, who is the Member of Parliament for East Ham and Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group, APPG, on Faith and Society, which was launched in 2012. The APPG's aims are to highlight the contribution to society by faith-based organisations, to identify best practice and to promote understanding of the groups, providing innovative solutions around the country. Stephen was the Shadow Minister for Employment from 2010 until September 2015 and currently sits on the Exiting the Europe Union Select Committee, as well as being the Labour Party's Faith Envoy. So here we are, here is Stephen.
Well, Sidra, thank you very much for your introduction. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I must say, I'm very impressed to see so many people here at this time on a Saturday night. I think that augurs well for the future, and let me very warmly welcome the decision that Essex has taken to sign up to the Faith Covenant with all.
And you've been talking before we did the travel about the women's group in Basildon, which is once a month. Let's, for the benefit of our listeners, say what it's all about.
So the group originally started to support women from the BME community.
BME is?
Black Minority Ethnic.
Right.
Women who suffer from any anxiety or isolation or depression problems. Just a way of getting them out, really. And we've been doing fun activities. We've done exercise classes. We have speakers in, interfaith topics, quizzes. Then we always have a shared lunch as well, which we all eat together.
That's
we all bring
in a dish, isn't it?
Yeah, which is really interesting because then we, in a way, we are tasting everybody else's cuisine. And then in the afternoon, we always do art therapy.
Right.
So in the olden days, we used to have lots of white British ladies joining us as well, showing some of the other ladies how to do crochet and quilt making and knitting, things like that.
Those are things my nan did. Yes,
really
and
lovely.
grandfather as well. He used to crochet these
Did
lovely
he?
blankets, yes, and I think I've still got some of them in the house today. And
it's a lost art, actually, because nobody knows how to knit anymore.
Really?
But they're very good fine motor skills in knitting. So all of that kind of stuff. We also have the police coming once in a while to support with any race hate crime. We also have doctors coming in, hospital staff. We had a hearing impairment specialist coming in the other day to talk about the stigma of disability within Asian communities.
So it's a very busy
beneficial.
group. Now, you mentioned hate crime there, and we talked briefly about that at the start of the show, that hate crime is on the up. Is there much of it in this area?
There
From
is.
the ladies that you meet?
Yes, it was only last year, wasn't it, when one of the ladies, her car was...
That's right, yes, I remember
went
that.
up in flames, and she was the only Asian lady in that block.
Right.
And, it was very, very sad. And she was too scared to come out of her house after that.
You think she was targeted?
Definitely. There's no doubt about it.
Did the police investigate it?
The police did what they could. The police were quite good. They did put up CCTV cameras in the area and everything. They visited her. In the end, I think she was well supported, but you never get over that kind of trauma.
Oh, of course not, because you'd never know if it's going to happen again, do you?
Yes.
It must be quite terrifying for something like caught in a situation like that. Not very nice at all. We've got to break for news. My guest in the studio tonight, Sidra Naeem. We'll talk about some of the other projects that Sidra's involved with as well. Essex's Police Crime and Fire Commissioner is warning planned increases in the number of police officers in the county could be derailed due to substantial financial pressures. The US and the UK have become the latest countries to withdraw their ministers from a Saudi investment conference following the suspected murder of Jamal Khashoggi. Turkish officials believe the journalist was killed during a visit to the Saudi Consulate in Istanbul. Exploring Islam with Sidra Naeem on Drive Time with Roz. Is that one you remember from your younger days?
Yes, I think it's one of my favourite ones. I like the acoustics in there, the way it goes down. I like that bit. All ABBA songs were great. I think they were way ahead of their time.
Absolutely, and you think it all started with the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's something that's sort of frowned upon really now, isn't it?
Yes.
And seen as a disaster, especially for the UK.
Yes,
But not for ABBA. They did very, very well out of winning.
Extremely well. Even now with the Mamma Mia, they've got,
Well, yes, and they're talking about new music from ABBA now as well.
Yes.
So after all this time, quite interesting. A bit like some of the things you've been involved with. More bad news on retail sales. And man size is no longer PC on tissue boxes. Sidra Naeem is my guest. Another thing they banned. Can't call tissues man size now.
What? Man size just means big, and men are bigger than women on the whole.
Well, I don't know why they ever put that on tissue boxes in the first place. I used to say to Mum, why do they call them man-sized tissues? But it's just one of those things,
well, they're
isn't
just bigger
it?
than the classic tissues because men on the whole are larger than women.
Do you come across political correctness though in your travels? Because I mean, you go about our area a lot, doing lots of the cricket matches and things. Do you come across PC?
Yes,
things?
I do. I'm very careful with what I say. Actually, in public, I have to be very careful, and everything that I say is not always my own opinion.
Right.
Like with everything else, you're not allowed to talk about so many things which are protected nowadays,
Would you let your children watch Disney films?
Yes, why not?
Right, because I don't know if you've heard, Keira Knightley, actress from Pirates of the Caribbean and other such movies, revealed she won't let her daughter, you'll love this, watch some Disney films because she thinks they send a negative message to girls.
Well,
Disney films.
We grew up
classic Disney films. Now, if I read you some of the titles of Disney films, let's see what we get of a reaction on air tonight. Cinderella.
Yep, I loved Cinderella. That's my favourite fairy tale.
Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
And The Little Mermaid. They're all not welcome in her house.
And why is that?
Right, okay. She says it's because it's, well, things like Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, it's a rich man rescuing a poor girl. And then she's like beholding to him. It's not.
But that's natural, isn't it? It's a hero figure. You know, if you look at Superman.
But it's not modern, is it?
Doesn't Superman rescue, you know, his girlfriend who's an ordinary girl, you know?
Yes, but it's something to do with the empowerment of women now, that you've got to have women rescuing men. Probably this is why we've now got a female Doctor Who.
Yeah. I just think, you know, that story was written for that era and we can't change what's gone. You know, in fact, those fairy tales were written even before that by the Grimm brothers. You know, way back, hundreds of years ago in Germany.
So we can't change it, but is it right to ban it?
No, definitely not. I think that those kinds of films provoke imagination in children, which children don't have anymore.
You don't think so?
Well, I've been on many, many courses. As you know, I was a special needs coordinator for over 22 years, dealing with children with special educational needs. Special educational needs came on the rise. And one of the things is lack of imagination, because everything, they're not even reading books anymore.
No.
Everything is electronic. It's not the same as picking up a novel and reading a good novel.
Is that something you used to do when you were younger?
I used to read so many books. We used to wait for the Ladybird magazines to come home from school, and we used to choose all the books. I absolutely loved reading books, and I think I am where I am today because of reading books. I wouldn't have become a teacher if I didn't read books.
Well, it's knowledge, isn't it, as well? And, you know, a window to the world. And so children lacking imagination. I wonder what Keira Knightley's children will say. Supposing one of them says, "Mummy, I want to watch Cinderella." The answer's no, and we don't allow it.
I mean, like that, then we'd have to ban all the pantomimes as well, because all the pantomimes at Christmas are all Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. And I love pantomimes.
And you're not allowed to have a woman playing a man or a man playing a woman. That'll be next.
Yeah, that's, you know, one of the sort of centerpieces to pantomimes.
It's acting, dear. That's what it is. It's acting. It's all make-believe. That's why we like this. So Keira Knightley, if you're listening to this tonight, which I doubt, get a grip.
And you know, our next Women Together, funny enough, is on special educational needs. And this is one of the things I will be talking about, where I've actually got a picture.
Well, you can use this as an example now,
Yes, I've got a picture on my PowerPoint, and it's some children, and the books are in water, and they're saying, "What's this?" because they don't know what it is. So that's the slide I'm using to show that children lack imagination nowadays.
I've learned, you know, that young children, I'm wondering about not just this, but parenting skills in general now, because one of our friends here at Gateway is a teacher working with young children just starting school, and she says the number of and I do apologise if you're eating your meal at this time of the evening, the number of children having accidents, wetting themselves at school is unbelievable now. It happens constantly. So they're not even being toilet trained.
Yes, that's very common. I started off my career as a teacher in reception class, which are 4-year-olds, and they were all potty trained. They were told they have to be potty trained, and I don't remember a single accident.
No, well, I remember being potty trained by about 4 years old, I think I was.
Yes, because in those days mums had time, they gave time. A lot of mums, you know, are working nowadays, so they don't have the time.
Or are they on their phones?
Or they're on their phones. I was just going to say, you know, very busy lifestyle. Children are not important anymore.
They're just accessories or something.
Yes.
They're like these, you know, pug-faced dogs and things like this. They all become like, a child, you know, it's something like it's glitz and glamour.
Yes.
And bling.
Yes. And then by the time, 20 years later now, you know, you're saying young children. I've seen it in the juniors, because I worked in the juniors, junior school, and children were wetting themselves even then.
Unbelievable. I do apologise once again. If you're having a meal right now and this is not for you, do turn over and watch Neighbours. We won't blame you for that, but I'm sure there's worse things going on in Neighbours at the moment. So Kleenex tonight, that's in the news. It's rebranding its tissues. With Keira Knightley banning Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Little Mermaid. We got Kleenex rebranding its tissues after criticism. The man-sized name is sexist. That's what it is. The firms responded to those complaining on social media. Who are those? I would love to know who those are.
But I've heard of other man-sized things, like man-sized portions of food and things like that. It's not just in tissues, is it?
What about Yorkie chocolate bars?
Yes,
not
yes, the
for
big
women.
lorry drivers that used to eat those.
Yeah, but on the packaging of Yorkie bars, they used to have "not for women" with a little circle with a cross through a woman.
Well, that's not going to go out of the window in nowadays era,
if it hasn't already. So how long do you think Kleenex for men tissues have been going?
Gosh, it's been a long time. 60s?
1950s. 50s. So after all this time, it's suddenly no longer...
It was handkerchiefs before that.
It was. And men carried them in their breast pockets, didn't they? And they used to get them out and offer them to the lady. I bet that wouldn't be allowed now, either, would it? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. So all these things that you're doing, are you aware of some of the things in the media? You're talking about the 24-hour media. Are you aware of the situation that's going now with Saudi Arabia and sanctions possibly about to be imposed because of the story about this missing journalist, Jamal Khashoggi? I think his name is, and a journalist went in to get some papers in the Turkish consulate, and the Saudi consulate. I'll say that again: the Saudi consulate in Turkey. He went in to get some papers. His girlfriend was waiting outside, and he never came out. And the rumour is, and it's being alleged that he was murdered inside the consulate, and in a planned killing, and nobody's seen him for well over a week now, nearly 2 weeks.
That's wrong, isn't it? Whatever's gone on there, that's totally against Islam. As you already know, we're not allowed to kill, so innocent people. And even if he wasn't innocent, killing's not the answer. Obviously, there's a protocol to go through, isn't there, before you get arrested and things like there is in this country. There should be that in all the countries. You don't just kill, do you?
Well, it seems to come into it when politics is involved, and of course Mr. Khashoggi was he was quite outspoken. He'd become a US citizen, lived in Virginia, and wrote for the Washington Post, and he was quite vocal about what he thought of the Saudi regime. And
they probably didn't like that, and then whatever they did to him as a consequence. But everybody's got their own viewpoint, and it's a free country. You can say what you feel.
Well, one would like to think that, but Saudi is a Muslim country, and we were talking about Muslims hate crime and Muslims being seen in a good light. This doesn't put Muslims in a good light, does it? This story, the politics here are involved with it, but obviously, as far as other Muslims are concerned, I think that this could add, like pouring petrol on the flames.
It does add to it, yes. And unfortunately, the media, even if it's something tiny, it does blow things out of proportion because it increases ratings of programmes in newspapers and things, and more listeners. So
Absolutely. Well, we'll talk some more about some of the events that you've been involved with. Also, this women's group in Basildon. Obviously, if anyone wants to go along to it, we'll talk more about what it's about. You've got some other events I know that you'll want to tell us about, and probably some things in the Islamic calendar that are coming up as well. So we'll chat through those here on Gateway. La Isla Bonita from Madonna.
When that song came out, I just dreamt of that dress that she wore, the Spanish flamenco dress.
It was see-through thing, wasn't it?
Was it see-through?
Yeah, I think parts of it were.
Well, the leg was, yes.
Yeah.
So I didn't think of that at the time. But anyway, I really wanted that dress. And then when I was much older and I went to Spain on holiday, I did buy the flamenco dress.
Oh, you bought it?
Yes, but not with the leg showing, fully covered one.
Well, you wouldn't, would
you? And I've worn it quite a few times, actually, because we've had cultural events at the university. We had a very big cultural event last year. And I did a stall, a dressing up stall of different countries, dressing up in different countries.
And you wore that. Tell us about it in the next hour. Another hour with Sidra. She's going to tell us all about that dress in the next hour. I'm intrigued. My guest in the studio tonight, Sidra Naeem, and you're saying that song makes you sad now.
It does, because the poor thing's not here anymore, and he had a lovely voice, and what a beautiful song that was. And he only sung that when he was 21 years old.
21?
Yes, he was 21, and that's my all-time favourite song.
That's 1984, though. And, you know, buying the singles, and they were vinyl records then as well.
Yes, yes.
Amazing. We've got to talk about some of the events you've been doing. You've also been to the High Sheriff's event, haven't you?
Yes, very posh it was. It was actually the canapes there. It was the High Sheriff's garden party I got invited to. The High Sheriff of Essex's garden party.
Better explain to our listener that you're a Muslim chaplain.
Yes.
And teacher.
Yes, that's right.
You work at Anglia Ruskin University.
Yes, I do, yes.
And, you know, the subject, obviously, Islam, which we talk about every month.
Yes.
So is that the reason you were there at the High Sheriff's event, at the garden party?
I think I met him. I did a service for the chair of Essex County Council.
Right.
I did a reading for him at Chelmsford Cathedral.
Jeremiah 22, 13 to 16, 23, 5 and 6. Your father judged the cause of the poor. Woe to him who builds his house by unrighteousness, and his upper rooms by injustice, who makes his neighbours work for nothing, and does not give them their wages, who says, I will build myself a spacious house with large upper rooms, and who cuts out windows for it, handling it with cedar, and painting it with vermilion. Are you a king because you compete in cedar? Did not your father eat and drink, and do justice and righteousness? Then it was well with him. He judged the cause of the poor and needy. Then it was well. Is not this to know me, says the Lord? The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will raise up for David a righteous branch, and he shall reign as king and deal wisely, and shall execute justice and righteousness in the land. In these days Judah will be saved, and Israel will live in safety, and this is the name by which he will be called. The Lord is our righteousness. Thanks be to God. Isaiah 60, verse 1 to 4, 11, 17 to 18, and 22. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you. For darkness shall cover the earth, and thick darkness the peoples. But the Lord will arise upon you, and his glory will appear over you. Nations shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. Lift up your eyes and look around. They all gather together, they come to you. Your sons shall come from far away, and your daughters shall be carried on their nurses' arms. Your gates shall always be open, day and night, they shall not be shut. so that nations shall bring you their wealth with their kings led in procession. Instead of bronze, I will bring gold. Instead of iron, I will bring silver. Instead of wood, bronze. Instead of stones, iron. I will appoint peace as your overseer and righteousness as your taskmaster. Violence shall no more be heard. And I met the Essex High Sheriff there, and he came up to me and he said, I would really like it if you could read at my justice service.
Right, that's nice.
At the cathedral, do a reading for me, just like you did there. So I said, yes, of course I would. I actually feel very privileged when people ask me. In the end, you know, we ended up going to a couple of events where he was. So first of all, he invited me to the garden party, which was just wonderful. There was just so many people from all over England of very high stature, all with hats on, and I had my own hat on. And the canapes there were better than Buckingham Palace. They had quail eggs, and it was so posh, you know, and I did buy a new dress for that. It was lovely, absolutely wonderful, and it was so good of him. Then he came to our cricket match. And it was really funny because he came wearing his Napoleon costume.
So you didn't wear the flamenco dress from La Isla Bonita?
No,
the one that you've showed me some pictures. You're going to have to put them up on Twitter. It really does look
I will
lovely.
do, actually, yes.
Yeah,
no, the flamenco dress is only for cultural events, because I'd look silly, wouldn't I, going to the garden party?
I don't know. I think it might raise a few eyebrows. Yeah.
So, so he came to the cricket match, and he came in his Napoleon costume with the hat and the sword and all the choppers and everything. And then he said that if we're short of players, he'd like to play. And it was just so funny because the cathedral was short of a couple of players, and he went into the changing room and he came out as an ordinary cricket player.
Oh, right.
It was so funny.
So he completely changed his outfit.
Yeah, completely changed, and then he was an ordinary cricket player like everyone else, and everyone was looking for the High Sheriff, and he was within the cricket team. He played really, really well. He was I think he was definitely man of the match. And then after that I went to his service at the cathedral, his justice service. Again, very privileged to be there. There was judges from all justice services in the whole of England there, and we had lunch with him as well, proper cooked lunch, and I was one of the guests who did the reading. There was only 3 people who did the reading, and it was a very good reading on multicultural living in peace together in harmony, which the cathedral wrote for me, and it was beautifully written, I must say, because I felt so happy reading that reading.
Yes.
For a world broken by sin, for nations at war, for the peace of the whole world and the welfare of all peoples. God of steadfast love, hear our prayer.
We pray that God's power, the rescue he offers for all, may be visible in the life of her faith communities. For people of all traditions, that we may work and act together for unity of faith and action, in love with all people of goodwill. God of steadfast love,
hear our prayer.
we pray for all those who struggle and feel marginalized in our society, for all who are sick, anxious or distressed, for those in special need, and for all who suffer alone, for those who feel that God is far from them, and for all victims of open or hidden persecution. God of steadfast love,
thanksgiving for our freedom under the law, for all in public life and authority in times of challenge and change, for all who work together for the common good, that we may build together communities where all may flourish and the needs of each are met. God of steadfast love, hear our prayer.
Let us give thanks for this county and this city, for the beauty of our landscape and the qualities of our people, and for the contribution in our own day of men and women of all faith traditions, for the heritage into which we have entered, and for the opportunities to live life to the full and to serve one another and the common good. Oh, give thanks to the Lord for his goodness.
For his loving kindness is from age to age. Let us give thanks for the freedoms we enjoy and for the laws that order and shape our society. For all who have served the Queen and their fellow citizens in the office of High Sheriff. For all voluntary and statutory bodies engaged in the maintenance of law within a just society. Oh, give thanks to the Lord for his goodness, for his loving kindness is from age to age.
Lord, make us instruments of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine mercy, rather than being not so much seeking to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive thee, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
You got chatting to some of the judges as well.
I did.
And they let slip something.
They did. It was so interesting.
What did they let slip? Come on, let's tell our
what
listeners.
They said was that they might be called judges, but they don't really judge, whatever is happening in court.
Yeah.
They're already told from behind whether they have to say yes or no to a crime.
Really?
Which I thought was really awful. And they said it's all because of money cuts. There's no money, and by handcuffing a thief or whatever means more money for the country, because then you have to upkeep them in prison.
So are you getting the impression that they're having to let people go when really they should be going to prison?
They said it in black and white. They said this is why there's so much crime, because they have had to, from behind, from their bosses, are told a certain limit of money the court has, and they from the upper, very high places are told through the government that they are not allowed to arrest so-and-so. Even they might feel that, oh my God, he's a crook and we've got to arrest him. They have to give the verdict as they're told.
Yes. Doesn't bode well. We'll have to investigate this some more, I think. It's a little bit of digging to do on that. My guest tonight, who's a Muslim chaplain at Anglia Ruskin University. She's also a teacher and a public speaker, helps the homeless, just about everything I don't do, and she does a wonderful job with it. Sidra Naeem, you've got your diary there, which is absolutely full of forthcoming events, haven't you?
Yes, we've got National Interfaith Week that's coming up in November, and interfaith activities happen in all different areas in that week. So I've organised a quiz night, interfaith quiz night, at the university, the second one.
This is at Anglia Ruskin, is it?
Yes, it is. I'm doing that as a Muslim chaplain.
Right.
Because I have to do something in Interfaith Week. And we've got 7 major world faiths. I've got displays up from different schools, children's work. And we've got questions from the primary curriculum on 7 different faiths, and there's a hot curry dinner afterwards, free.
Oh, now that is the part that really interests me. I love a hot curry.
So obviously you have to buy tickets for that,
Yes.
otherwise we might run out of food. So, so that's coming up. That's on 15th of November.
Right.
And on 14th, the Havering Interfaith Forum. So this is the Essex one, is doing the quiz night with me.
Yeah.
The Havering Interfaith Forum, which I'm also part of.
Is this Romford Mosque?
Yes, it happens in the mosque, yes. And that is on afterlife. What does our faith believe? What is our faith belief in the afterlife? So that's very interesting. So some will say heaven and hell, some will say reincarnation, some will say we don't believe in an afterlife. That's on Wednesday, 14th November at 7:30 in Romford Mosque. And next week is Women Together, and it's on special educational needs.
And this is the one in Basildon, isn't it?
Yes, Basildon Centre. That's Wednesday, 24th October at 10:30. And I'm doing a talk on special education needs. I was and still am a special educational needs coordinator.
Right.
So we're covering all the different autism and everything. It's going to be very interesting with lunch. And that same week is Black History Month.
Oh, yes, that's coming around again, isn't it?
And then on that Thursday...
Where's the year gone?
Yes, that's right. So Thursday, 25th October, in Basildon is a very big Black History Month.
Right.
And that's in the George...
Herd Centre?
George Herd Centre.
Right. So,
that's 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And I have been privileged to speak there.
Wonderful.
Which I think is brilliant. The Black ladies love me. The Black African ladies really like me. And they just treat me so good. We'll
have to try and get some of them into the studio here, and I'm sure Steve would want to get involved. I know a few
very, very strong characters. They would love to come here. So there's all that going on, and everything I do is really a spin-off from something else I've done.
So you make contacts, you network, you see.
Yes.
And then obviously other things spring
up. But I only take on board what I want to do. This is at the stage it's coming to. I don't just take on everything. I only take on
you won't have enough hours in the day, will you?
Yes,
because, from my point of view now, you're already doing a lot.
I am. So I only take on board what I really want to do. And enjoying every minute of it, really. We've had another open day at the mosque as well, Chelmsford Mosque, and the High Sheriff came to that as well. So he's definitely been in our good books this past 2-3 months. He's been coming to each and every event. We've made good relationships with him.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. So those events coming up. We'll find out in a few minutes where we are in the Islamic calendar as well, because as we say, the year is running away with itself. In the Christian calendar, we got Christmas coming up, though I don't even want to talk about it at the moment. And my guest, Sidra Naeem from Anglia Ruskin University, she's the Muslim chaplain. Where are we in the Islamic calendar at the moment then, Sidra? Because
the new Islamic calendar just started last month. So the new Islamic year started last month, because our calendar is different to the solar calendar. It's based on the moon.
Yes. And you've got that wonderful stargazing device, haven't you? The navigation device that I saw at the mosque when I came there, which was, it's invented by Muslims.
Yes, that's right. Yes, as a consequence of the 5 times prayers, knowing when to pray.
Yeah,
I think
incredible.
You mean the astrolabe.
So a new calendar just started. So it started last month. So are there any big celebrations coming up and with food and things?
No, we've done the 2 Eids now, so they've gone. So there isn't any celebrations as such, but there are specific points, like in the Islamic calendar, that are linked with history and things like that.
Yeah. Any historical events that sort of like this time?
The new year actually has got a very big, huge historic event. Linked with it. That new year starts from that point for a reason, because that's when Islam actually started. So it's actually the day when Prophet Muhammad went into Medina, which is another city. Because his own city, Mecca, everybody was really opposing him and doing all sorts. And he went to Medina, the journey to Medina, and that's where Islam really started, because everyone had become Muslim there. So our calendar actually starts from that date.
Fantastic. So learning something on this show tonight. And also joined in the studio now by Richard Becker. We usually have a chat around now.
TV Guide from 1985, and I think, yes, we were still watching Minder, but we were also watching Grange Hill as well.
Oh, now we talked about that on the show just the other week, and were you a Grange Hill watcher then, Sidra?
My mum never... we were not allowed to watch.
Really?
Well, I remember we used to watch it a lot, and I remember one of the episodes she was in the room doing something, and she heard how rude one of the girls was with the mother, and she goes, "You shouldn't be watching things like that." It's a bit like Marmaduke. What was that lady? Marmalade Atkins.
Oh, Marmalade Atkins, yeah. Educating Marmalade, I think it was, wasn't
she
it?
was rude, wasn't she?
Well, outrageous and outspoken, and she had wild sort of punky hairstyle, didn't she, at one point?
And that was the other one. My mum said, you're not watching that, otherwise you'll become like that.
You become a teacher?
Was that 80s? Educating Marmalade then, Richard?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
But Charlotte, somebody played her. I can't remember the name now. Sure, it's out on DVD.
Yeah. It probably is.
Your favourite era, Sidra?
Yes, it was, because that was the time when I was, just becoming a teenager, and that's the time, isn't it, when you're into music?
Start listening to music, and did you have the posters up on your wall of some of the pop stars?
No, we did at school though. We used to have them in.
I guess this evening, Sidra Naeem from the Anglia-Ruskin University. She's the Muslim chaplain there, and also a teacher. She helps the homeless. Are you helping the homeless soon? Because we're coming into the cold season again, aren't we?
Yes, that's going on strong. Yes, I'm doing that twice weekly.
Twice weekly, and that's already started, has it? Or
I've been doing that for ages before I went to see the Queen.
Oh, right.
That was one of the reasons why I went to see the Queen.
Twice a week.
Yeah. Hello there, I'm Sidra Naeem. I'm a teacher and lecturer, and I have been volunteering at the Catalyst Night Shelter, based on Fridays in North Street Halls in Hornchurch, volunteering to feed the homeless. And basically the Muslim community have been raising funds, and each family donates £50 to feed the homeless every Friday, and I've been coming here since February, so it's been over 6 months now, and feeding the homeless. It gives me a great sense of pleasure, a lovely feeling. I love helping, it makes me feel good. And also a very big part of our faith is to look after the poor and feed, and the only poor people you get really in this country is the homeless. So it's a very good opportunity for everybody really to come and earn their good deeds. So if there's anybody out there who would also like to volunteer, please come and join us. It would be really great to see you. It's a lovely, friendly place. We have met so many really lovely people here, the homeless as well as the staff. So do come and join us. Hope for Havering, based in Hornchurch.
So is the number of homeless increasing?
Definitely. And I'll tell you something really interesting. The number of different ethnic minorities within the homeless is increasing.
Really?
So I actually see Muslims there now as well.
What's going wrong, do you think, in their lives?
I think that there's waiting lists. A lot of these people, there's waiting lists.
Like for housing?
For housing. But also mental health is on the rise hugely. That has had a huge impact on homelessness.
What do you think we can do about it to change things? What needs to be done?
Money is the only way. We need money drummed into the NHS and into schools and into the police, all three areas.
Well, as we've been hearing on this programme tonight, police cuts and crime on the up, and homelessness, obviously, another thing. NHS, obviously needs more spending. Theresa May, Prime Minister, has pledged more money to the NHS, but it all seems to be going at the moment to the EU. That's something we want to see stopping very soon. Anyway, thanks for being such a splendid guest tonight. You're coming back again?
Yes, of course I will, yes.
Yeah, we'll always have you back.
Yes.
We always like knowing what you're doing.
Yes.
And so we're coming into New Year is really the start of things, Islam, and then obviously when is the next Ramadan? That's not till the summer, is it?
May.
Usually, so it's going into next year, isn't it?
Yes.
So Ramadan, which is when the fasting occurs.
Yes, and then Eid afterwards.
And then you get 2 Eids, you say.
Yes, and then the other Eid is approximately 2 months after that again. So
you get these two celebrations close together, but then not a lot for the rest of the year.
No, but there's lots of other events that happen, and I certainly don't feel it
Yes.
Because for
Well,
me,
we'd invite
Eid is
you around
stress.
for Christmas.
Eid is stress for me because it's...
Well, you're always working.
Well, we have to do the full works like Christmas. We have to get all the food in and the presents and the decorations, the cards. We do the full works like, you would do at Christmas. We do it on both the Eid. So for me anyway, it's a stressful time. I have the family around mine most of the time as well.
Yes.
'Cause
A
I'm
lot
the
of family?
eldest. There's about 14 people every Eid.
That's a big
Which is a
family.
lot, I think, for
Yes.
within the English culture. But I think my family's quite small, really, when I think
Well,
about
it is if you're doing... It's going to be stressful if you're doing the cooking. I don't think I'd like to be doing the cooking for 14 people. I don't know, though. I've cooked for a lot of people before.
Yes.
Sort of like camp cooking and stuff like that. Loads of bacon and eggs for people.
Yes.
Yes, I do have skills other than just radio, Lovely to have you here on the show anyway this week and this month. We'll have you back again, as we say, next month. The mosques, are they listening? Are they going to listen again?
There will be once the links go out, yes.
Brilliant
definitely.
stuff, and we'll
Yes.
see some stuff on Twitter as well. You're on Twitter now.
I
Can we
am.
follow
I'm
you?
very newly on it. I'm still trying to work out what to do and who to tag in and how to retweet and all
Do you
the
know
rest.
what your address is?
What is it?
You see, it caught you out
Naeem.
now, hasn't it?
Is it Naeem?
Sidra. I think your name is there in full, isn't it?
Yes, but I think it's at Naeem
Yeah.
_ Sidra, I think.
We'll find it. We'll link it to Gateway.
Yes.
We'll do that. Anyway, thanks for being such a splendid guest, and we'll find out what you're doing again next month.